Hey everyone, Warwick's here. So patch 9.1.5 obviously has a ton of features. It's probably the biggest quality of life patch in the history of the game. So what I want to do today is kind of take that patch and let's look at it and break it down. Now, I'm not going to go over every single feature and kind of cover it in broad general scope. It's well past that news drop time, and well, there's plenty of other videos from other creators that you can go out and go seek. What I'm going to do is I'm going to limit the scope today. So you guys know that this is a mostly monk focused channel. And so we're going to talk about what this looks like for the monk class. So we're going to look at the patch 9.1.5 changes, the majority of them, and kind of talk about how this is going to influence the monk class to come into the next patch. So we're going to get into the main screens right now, and let's go ahead and get a move on over here. So transition. All right. Look at wonderful Chef Jose Andres right here. Anyway, so what we're going to do is we're going to start with the covenant swapping restrictions and how they have been lifted. So if you're just a one trick of a monk, so you only play Brewmaster, Windwalker, or Mistweaver, then this may not impact you as much as you might think, because each spec generally has their accepted best one. Now, if you play multi-role like I do, then this has big influence on you. So we're going to ignore the blue post. Basically, once you reach a high renown threshold, you'll be able to freely switch among any of the 4 covenants without cooldown or restriction, as well as using all the cosmetic rewards that you've earned from one covenant. Both the covenant switching and use of cosmetic rewards will also apply to alts once the renown threshold is reached on one character. So basically, they're making the account-wide swapping mechanism. It hasn't been confirmed 100%, but we think this is going to be at renown 80. Kind of makes sense that renown 80 kind of becomes that high renown threshold. So what does this mean for, let's look at these on individual spec. What does this mean for Brewmaster Monk? We'll start with them. So for Brewmaster Monk, you get free swaps basically between Necrolord and Kyrian. Those will be the 2 that you'll most likely be doing. For me, I'm a Necrolord player, so I'm going to be sticking with Necrolord except on necrotic weeks. So the weeks that I'm on necrotic, I'll be swapping over to Kyrian just so that I have file to give me an extra way to clear the stacks, and then go from there. And that's going to be the biggest benefit to Brewmaster, really. Kyrian is generally speaking the best one for both offensive and defensive capabilities. So if you're a Brewmaster that just wants to find one spec to stick to, or one covenant rather to stick to, then you're going to want to stick to Kyrian most likely. But if you're like me, I really like Necrolord. I like the way Bone Dust Brew plays. I like Fleshcraft and its uses. I just feel a lot more comfortable as a Necrolord than I do as a Kyrian. But on those Kyrian weeks, I am definitely going to be swapping over to get that file. Probably even play the Clay attack where I get the immunity for 8 seconds. Just so that I can, really get in and tank and stay in longer as we begin to push higher and higher keys. For Mistweaver monks, this gives you some distinct advantages, again, depending on your preferred style of play. Venthyr with the legendary has emerged as the best overall covenant and legendary combination for Mistweaver. So again, if you're a one trick, you're probably playing Mistweaver anyways, and this is going to be something that you will most likely be continuing to move forward on. But again, you might have some things like on Necrotic Week, you can play the Clay attack if you'd like, since Mistweaver actually really likes Claya, to give your tank another way to refresh and reset necrotic stacks. And then also looking at, even the potential for Necrolord if you're just looking for a good change of pace. So again, niche use for the Mistweaver spec, just like it is for Brewmaster, but where the niches apply, mainly on necrotic weeks, those are big weeks. So good stuff there. And for Windwalker, pretty much everyone's playing Necrolord right now, especially in Mythic Plus and in the raid. There's a lot of places where Necrolord is going to work out really well. But this also gives you freedom to switch over to Feline Stomp and to Weapons of Order, depending on how well you think you can handle both of those. Just for a little bit of switch, especially on pure single target fights. Something like Sylvanas, you can still go Necrolord and basically wipe out ads on your own. But on a fight like Fate Scribe, maybe Kyrian is going to be a little bit better because you're going to get that single target boost, maybe at the cost of your AoE. So there are some potentials for each of these specs to take advantage of this. But if you're a one trick, this actually may not impact you all that much unless you just really like the cosmetic rewards of one specific covenant. Like, I'm a big fan of the Necrolord set, so I will probably always transmog that. as much as humanly possible. Alright. Now, the other good thing is that if you already have other characters like I do, I have 3 characters really that I'm kind of playing significantly right now, and that's DK, Hunter, and of course Monk. Being able to skip the Covenant campaign if you switch, so if you're swapping over to Necrolord or to Venthyr for the first time on your Monk, but you've maybe played another character that's done those campaigns, you don't have to go through the, 3 to 4 hours of content that's kind of not all that interesting anymore in order to get the renown. So being able to skip the campaign, unlock all the soul binds, and get all the renown that goes with it is going to be really, really good. This broker mark of distinction is going to allow you to immediately increase your active covenant to renown 40. So what I would do is once you hit renown 80 on your monk and you're switching over to a new covenant, purchase this first and then go ahead and boost to renown 40 and then do your campaign skip. That should get you, I think, around like renown 60 really quickly. So that unlocks basically all the major features of the covenant. So the legendaries, mounts, at least 1 title, and then after that you're just working on empowered conduits. So the renown catch up is going to be very good. The other thing that you can do as well is swap to the covenant that you want to do the renown grind on and go out and hit every source of renown that you can. So hit the 3 callings, do the 2 weeklies in the anima and the jailer's effort subdued thing. And you can also go out and hit both world bosses as well for that week, so you can get potentially up to 7 renown for that week. So that's a good way to also do the renown catch up if you don't want to, if you can't really purchase the broker's mark for whatever reason. This is a good way for you to quickly catch up and push that renown. The renown grind is going to be very fast for you to get your renown up to where you can get ideally all the empowered conduits, all the titles, legendaries, transmogs that your heart desires. So, and then another big one, this one is the Aoe Cap Removal. So we're going to go ahead and open this. And we're going to scroll down to Monk here. Now this is not quite updated because they added Fist of Fury. They added Spinning Crane Kick to Windwalker Monk. So let's talk about these abilities. Basically what they're doing is they're going to make them do 5 right now. So like Rushing Jade Wind, for example, for Brewmaster does 6 enemies within 8 yards. It's going to do max damage to 5 enemies and then reduced, from what we understand, square root scaling to all targets beyond that to a soft cap of like 20. So this is actually going to be a big buff to Brewmaster Monk's damage. They are going to be able to maintain threat on trash packs a lot better, and it's a decent single target buff as well, just because you're concentrating your damage a little bit more. And go from there. Rushing Jade Wind on Windwalker you basically never take because hit combo and Dance of Chi are just that much better. Fist of Fury getting uncapped is going to make it a lot more valuable in a PvE situation for full channels. Basically outside of carrying your full channeling Fist of Fury, this spell becomes even better to push and probably ends up being a pretty potent spell in AoE now. And also when you have ads pop up onto your boss and stuff like that, Fist of Fury is going to be not quite as good as Bone Dust Brew Spinning Crane Kick combo, but if you don't have those up for any reason, this is going to be a good replacement that you can use and still do pretty effective damage. And then Spinning Crane Kick got uncapped for Windwalker Monk as well. What this most likely means is that Dance of Chi is going to get blown up. Right now it does, I think, 200% damage. I would look for that to be cut in half to 100%, because it's just doing too much right now. It's basically carrying the Windwalker AoE. The Conduit itself is fine. Calculated Strikes is okay. That doesn't need to change. It is strictly just Dance of Chi, because if you get procs, you look like a god. If you don't get procs, you look like a god. Like, everything is just like ridiculous, kind of ridiculously overtuned right now with Dance of Chi in particular. But even Calculated Strikes I might see potentially getting nerfed a little bit. But expect those talents to get changed. As of recording, this is October 3rd. As of recording right now, we have not seen any change to Windwalker in terms of nerfing Dance of Chi, but I fully expect it to be coming by the time patch 9.1.5 releases. So that's the AoE cap. Unfortunately, nothing from Mistweaver. I would really love to see Mistweaver Spinning Crane Kick uncapped so they can more quickly apply Mystic Touch, and also give them a really good AoE ability to use, so you're not just, you know, Rising Sun Kick and then step back and heal. You can actually get in there and do a lot of damage. But fingers crossed we get that more coming. All right. And let's move on to the next feature, Conduit Energy. So Conduit Energy is something that if you were impacted by it, it made your gameplay miserable. If you weren't impacted by it, you never really noticed. So in Blizzard's mind, that makes this system a net negative, and it's just being completely removed. So that's good. You know, it's really impacting casual players when you like switch covenants, because you can't do up all 3 soulbind trees or anything like that. But for players that do a lot of covenant switching or do a lot of conduit swapping because they have 2 specs that play the same role or play the same soulbind and stuff like that, it was very much a pain in the butt. But the fact that this is being gone and the player's base is happy about it means it's a good change. New customizations for those of you that play any of these, Nightborn, Lightforged, Draenei, and Void Elves, as well as High Mountain Tauren. You're getting some new customization options, which is good. I'm always down for people being able to make their character look more what they envision. All right. And then Legion Time Walking. So from a monk perspective, Legion Time Walking is mainly going to be there for pushing the number of mythic keys that you can get in your cache. I haven't looked through all the dungeons themselves to see which ones there might be in terms of potential items that you can upgrade with Valor and stuff like that. But these dungeons, for the most part, I've played most of them. The only ones I don't remember off the top of my head are Quarter Stars, as well as Neltharian's Lair. I don't remember those 2, but from my time leveling through Legion, I've played pretty much all the rest of them. They're fine. I'm not super excited by this. I don't think it's going to be a massive change to the game. It makes old content relevant again, which is always good because there are some good dungeons out there. I've heard a lot of good things about Quarter Stars, and I was a big fan of Black Rook Cold personally. But the dungeons they chose here were like, they're okay. They're not my favorite set out of the Legion pool. Return to the Mage Tower. So this is not going to provide any artifact weapon skins or anything of that nature, but they are basically recoloring the mythic version of the T20 set from Tomb of Sargeras. So let's open this up here and let's show you the monk set. What I appreciate is they showed it on a panda, which is still probably one of the more popular monk races, and then also on a human. And so I think this looks really good on panda. I don't think it looks that good. It looks okay on human, but I've checked a couple of other races and it doesn't look that great on many other races. I will probably go get it just because there's not a lot of orange sets that I have, and I think this is actually a pretty good set overall. So I'm down. It's better than Hunter. So I will be doing all the challenges that I can in the Mage Tower that involve monk. So, you know, we'll be going from there. So that's good. All right, Maw intro skip. If you're wanting to level a monk again, you know, or if you want to come back to monk, or you want to try to play monk for the first time, and you level through and you're at the 50 and you've already done, you're like, man, I don't want to start this character up because I have to do the Maw intro. Well, now that's going to be able to be skippable, which probably should have been in from the very beginning, but whatever. All right. Transfer anima between ults. If you're renowned 80, you use 250 anima to give 250 anima renown over to ult. So if you're monk is your ult and you have a lot of anima sitting around on your main character and you don't really have anything else to use it on, sending them to your ult so you can build up their sanctum, get the mounts and transmogs looks on those, anything like that is going to be available to you, so that's not bad. Either Expedition solo queue doesn't matter. Latency rate tuning, dungeon adjustments doesn't matter. Legendary item recycling is going to be fantastic because basically for all 3 specs you're recrafting your legendary into a non-domination socket piece. So now being able to get your full 5150 Soul Ash is going to be really good and will potentially help speed up both the process of crafting your new legendaries or sending those Soul Ash over to your ults so that you can speed craft their legendaries. This is a great feature. I'm really looking forward to it. And then leveling improvements. If you're looking to do additional things with your monk, if you're leveling your monk right now, maybe as a new main or an alt, then leveling through Shadowlands with Threads of Fate, and then also giving Torghast as an option is going to be pretty good. PvP, I'm not smart enough to talk about that. New mounts, toys, and travel forms, all fantastic stuff there. So the TLDR of this video is that the Covenant swap is very good. It's going to allow you to have more freedom in your choice of play. Most likely you're going to see tanks switching over to Kyrie on necrotic weeks if they're not there already. Monks can potentially, or Windwalker monks rather, can potentially switch to a more single target focused Covenant for single target fights. And for Mistweaver, you still are going to be running Venthyr, but if you're not a fan of Venthyr, then you now have Kyrian and Necrolord is easily swappable to determine like which style of play you prefer more. AoE caps, expect a Windwalker nerf for Dance of Chi-Ji now that Spinning Crane Kick's been uncapped. Fist of Fury being uncapped makes it a very good AoE spell, I think. Rushing Jadewind for Brewmaster is going to make their AoE damage better. And we have our fingers crossed that Mistweaver Monk is going to get Spinning Crane Kick uncapped. Those are kind of the big two changes overall. But we're hoping that we continue to hear more. Like I said, this is October 3rd. I'm not expecting a release date for patch 9.1.5. As of right now, we don't know that release date. I'm thinking it's going to be very much tied to either the week of Renown 80, which is coming up at the end of this month, or within like a couple of weeks after that, probably right before the holidays, to try and get people to play during the holidays. And then they'll announce patch 9.2 PTR very shortly thereafter, probably coming out in January, and hopefully on an expedited but effective testing period, so that we can get a new patch hopefully in March or maybe even early April. That's my hope for kind of the future content patch cycle of Shadowlands. All right. So thanks guys for listening to me ramble about the monk and how it's going to be impacted by the system changes coming in 9.1.5. I might do this for a couple of other classes if you're interested in hearing that. But in the meantime, I'm going to continue doing dungeon runs. I'm going to be looking at a couple of other things with monk in terms of its power in both Raid and Mythic Plus. Going to be kind of looking at where the spec excels, how is it being represented, things of that nature. And then also looking at working on stuff for a fist weaving guide, still working on that one. And then we'll see what else I can kind of come up with over the next few weeks. I'm trying to be back into putting more consistent content out, even if it's just dungeon runs, because I've been kind of neglecting the YouTube side of things outside of the streams, and I apologize for that. So until the next video, I hope you're all staying safe. I hope you're all getting vaccinated, and I'm going to see you all next time. Peace and love.